tires, new pages, new books, new haircuts, new looks, new days, new shoes, new party dance moves, new walls and new floors were different.
This MVP Labs session was recorded on the unceded territories of the Coast Salish, Samiamu, Katsi, Stolo, and Tsleil-Waututh nations for artists and creatives on further unceded territories across Turtle Island. Hey everyone, welcome to the MVP Labs sessions. Today we're talking about Amanda Sum's fantastic new video, Different Than Before. We're joined today by Amanda herself, and the video's director, Mayumi Yoshida, and producers, Sebastien Galina and Lynne Lee. Welcome everybody.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Kashif.
I mean, first of all, just amazing work on the video. Congratulations on finishing a thing. I feel like every film and every project is a small miracle. And so, just on that, congratulations on making a file that exists. And being done it. Yeah.
Something we can upload.
Amazing.
Yes.
I'm sure, yeah, exactly. And I'm sure, I mean, there's a whole journey leading up to that, you know, file existing and being able to hit upload, and then the whole life of the video that happens afterwards. So kind of rolling it back a little bit, I wanted to talk about what led up to this moment and what led up to even being able to make this music video in the first place. So maybe we'll start with you, Amanda, and kind of what led up to choosing this specific song to pitch to MVP, and what led to the idea behind it.
Well, I wrote this song about 2 years ago now. It was May as well, May 2020. So that was kind of coinciding with a lot of Asian hate crimes, and that was kind of saturating what I was seeing in the news, and that was prime pandemic lockdown time. So I was writing a lot in that period, and this song kind of came from that craving and yearning for a change that clearly needed to happen, but pairing that alongside this idea that this change isn't going to happen in the snap of a finger, and that we kind of all need to be putting our heads and hearts into this to create this day, this keep going with a tomorrow until this Asian community doesn't have to live in fear of being attacked. And so I had written this song and sang it at an online concert and talked about it in the backstory that Mayumi had attended. And then we were just about to release our first music video at that point. And we were already talking about the next one. And she called dibs on this song.
So, like, Lynne, what brought you into this project and made you say yes?
When I heard Mayumi tell me about the story and the project and how meaningful it is, and to continue this fight to call for people to stand up to racism, I was immediately intrigued. And of course, having worked with Mayumi for a number of years on Vancouver Asian Film Festival's Mighty Asian Movie Making Marathon, I've always loved working with Mayumi, and she's such a great artist. She's produced amazing work, and so I was like, excuse me, and I was absolutely gung ho in helping her bring this dream alive. And also because I also happen to know Amanda Sum. I've actually not heard her music, but I've seen her in so many plays. She's amazing. She's so talented and an energy. And when I heard that song for the first time, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy I can be part of this to bring this alive. But I was just so happy to help with the language, some of the dialogue, and making sure that it's authentic. And that's the most important thing about this project, being authentic and delivering this message that's really from the heart.
Right on. Sebastien, what made you say yes to the project?
I mean, I've known Amanda for a few years through mutual friends, and as soon as I saw the groupthink video, I was like, who are these people making this amazing thing in our backyard? And like, I have never heard of them. And I looked them up. I was like, oh my goodness, I've seen Mayumi on TV. And then putting that together, it gave me like almost jealousy in the sense of like, I wish I was involved in something as cool as that. And the choreography was amazing. So as soon as they reached out to me, it was like just a of course moment. I didn't even have to look at it, but when I did, it also jumped off the page. So, I think from our perspective, stories that come from the heart are the best stories, and that's what I kind of want to focus on in my own career. And so something like this, in whatever role I can support in, is always something that I'm interested in.
Mayumi, this piece is almost as much a short film as it is a music video. So how did you figure out the balance between song and dialogue moments?
Yeah, the dialogue and song portion, I think I wasn't really thinking, oh, this much amount, this much amount. It just kind of originally it wasn't even scripted, and then I think before production, so that I actually realized that, oh, this is really a short film. I felt like, okay, I'm gonna write the dialogue so that they're not um, they have like a roadmap. Everybody is like talking about, okay, this scene and then that scene rather than sort of like, that moment. So that kind of, I guess, solidified the short film aspect of it. But I think the dialogue kind of came naturally, and I had a lot of talk with the actors and just even fixing it on the day as well. So yeah, it just kind of came organically.
What's the how did you decide to navigate the dream sequence as well? Because that's a pretty like out there idea, and how did you balance that with the rest of the piece?
Yeah, so um, I always try to make everything that is I whenever I'm making something, I think of one person who I want to dedicate it to, or who am I making this for? And this time, it was my dad. Because my dad, he loves Simon and Garfunkel. He loves like Elton John, and like I remember the way he would sing in karaoke, and he has this different personality when he sings, and even in the hallway or whatever. And I just thought it would be really cool to see an Asian dad just so out there with those like feathers and high like platform heels, and so cool. And I felt like that joy is something I wanted to see more on screen, because we are we were living are living through a harsh time in terms of like the racism and the attacks that we're seeing. So I wanted the dialogue parts to be hopefully as close to reality as possible, and a little bit harsh. And then in the dream, like just vibrant and glowy and glitter and fun and joyful as possible. So but not making it too corny.
Speaking of Asian dads and cool people, I mean, you had Taima, the Asian dad, in the music video. Olivia Chang. You had some really big names in this piece. That's like an indie music video. Um, how did that come about, and how did you guys navigate getting them on board?
Well, Ty was again like he was from like the beginning of her. He thinking of him, I think, expanded the idea. And it really started with, wouldn't it be cool if?
Yeah, it was like we kind of said it as a joke
Who
first.
would, who
Wouldn't
would
it be
think that
fun?
you could get time off? Like you just would not. And it was a process of like planting the seed, watering it, planting it again, watering it for like the span of a year and a half. And then um, we were aware that he's going to be in town shooting his series. And hopefully, if time works out, like and so, it definitely was not easy because of COVID, and also just the reality of there's a bigger moving piece on his end, and just navigating and also balancing all the other cast and crew. So like Lynn and Sebastian were so patient and like everything, and communicating with the crew, and all of our designers also, like Alea from costumes was like, measurements. I'm like, yep. Yeah, it was such a fun and chaotic process, but I think I don't want to speak for him, but I feel that I mean, he's also a very community driven person. Him and Olivia, both of them are like, and that's why we wanted those two too, because they are so outspoken about Stop Asian Hate and activism on like on beyond Asian activism. Like it's them being involved meant we're giving more real weight to the message of this music video. We're not just sort of like preaching to the choir. They are people who are doing the groundwork and helping us emerging filmmakers and talents kind of uplift their voices too. So being having them part of it was it wasn't just about them being big names. It's really like their life uh, connected with activism was something that I think the video needed. So, and I think they really resonated with the story as well, which we're very lucky that they did.
Sebastian, how do you actually balance that excitement and the creative with the actual budget and the real numbers you have to work with and being respectful of people's time and energy? How do you navigate that?
Totally. I mean, it all starts with the conversation with each person, really. And this is what we're trying to do, and this is how we're involved. It's not like we're here taking, half of the budget for ourselves and spending only a little bit here and there. It really is a community effort in that sense, but happy to kind of when you talk to the heads of department and they're really excited about the project, it's also easy for them to say, I know just the right team that wants to work on something like this, that especially when we're filming over a weekend, it's also a little bit easier for folks who have jobs during the week. We're very lucky to have extremely experienced cast and crew who would otherwise be working on film and television, be involved on a weekend shoot for us, with us. So yeah, it starts with a conversation with every person, whether it's a volunteer or an honorarium or a mix of both. And feed them well. Mayumi made that clear, but that's also like
Which shout out to Phil Planta. That is what I learned from Phil Planta.
When it comes to the specific creative of the content of the video for you, Mayumi, what part of that initial idea did you really have to make sure you kept, and what is something that came up in production that surprised you but evolved the idea?
To me, there's like in the music video, there's two themes. One is uh, the theme of Stop Asian Hate, the activism part of it. And then the other is a father seeing his daughter move on, and she is joining a new family. So his vision or like his experience as a father is changing, is shifting. When we originally wrote the concept back in 2020, 2020 Stop Asian Hate scene then and then now is different. So when more and more Asian women were getting attacked in February this year, I just really felt like am I am I on the pulse of like what is happening right now versus like where we were 2020. So I called Lynn, I called Amanda, I called Olivia, I called Ty to just check in on like how are we feeling with the story versus how we are living right now with this experiences that we're actually feeling, because it's heavy. So that was really good to make sure that to remind myself that the story evolves and it's a living piece. So making sure that it's alive and it's reflecting what we're living right now as well as how we felt back in the days in 2020. So and a big scene change happened because of talking to the actors. So Amanda and Lynn. So I owe them so much on how the story evolved.
When I think of some of the specifics of what's on screen, what jumps out to me is that incredible costume, the like Elvis Moulin Rouge situation. And I have to ask Mayumi, like, first of all, who was your wardrobe person? But also, in terms of working with crew, how do you communicate your vision and how specific do you get and how much is is coming from them.
Yeah, I'll let Amanda talk about costume with Alea because she's amazing. And in terms of communicating the vision, I learned this when I was shadowing this director, but they were telling me how like the most important thing as a director is that you're making sure every single person is making the same movie as you. So every time I talk with the designers, especially head of departments, that's like they are the director as well as I am. So I make sure that we are definitely making the same film. This moment is understood. This lighting is this because of this. Like all of that is very, very important because they are the directors in their department. So it's really fun when you realize that, like, okay, we're all on the same page. And then they would also come up with their ideas. And it's just like, so yeah. Did you want to talk about the costumes, Amanda?
Yeah, so we brought on Alea Hamer, who I had met through doing theater productions before, and she had we joke about it all the time because everything that she's made for me has been just like extravagant. Like she made me a cricket costume with four arms. She made me this Cheshire cat beautiful coat. So when we were talking about who to bring on, it kind of was a no-brainer of who I knew who had an amazing design brain and who had the skill set to make extravagant things because we knew we were going for Asian Elton John.
It's kind of, I mean, so much of the making of this is like the making of a community, and even just the process of making it seems to have had so much impact. Sebastian, how do you think about the release and the life of the video after it's done? And how much do you think about that while you're making it?
So much planning that goes into the release and distribution of any project, really. From little things like we did another panel with Exploration and having them talk about the significance and the making of the film, and also planning to like share it with the sponsors and giving everybody the list of credits and all the tags on Instagram so that it's as easy for the entire cast and crew to share about it and tell the community in an organic way, to other things like sending out press releases and trying to organize a premiere or trying to get it featured on a news site or whatever it is. Like there's so many of those things. I think the last almost 4 or 5 weeks since the shoot has been really about that, the release and distribution, perhaps even earlier.
That's actually what I was going to ask Lynn as well, is when is your job done as a producer?
Never. No, I think especially with right.
When the
Yeah, the
Slack free
Slack.
trial ends.
That's been the godsend.
Yeah, it's gonna end in like 4 days. It says.
Uh oh. Yeah, and that's why I think Sebastian and myself work so well together because we both have an advertising background, and we're actually enjoying planning the marketing side of things. At least I am, and yeah. So from pre-production to the release, and this is such a great, amazing project. I definitely think it deserves some awards. So there's also the journey of putting out there in festivals and applying for different possibilities of awards and things, and so yeah, I think it would hopefully it would end when we get an award somewhere.
Sebastian, how many meetings did you guys all have especially as crew, like production meetings going into this?
Well, the nice thing about this project is that many of our production meetings revolved around a dim sum table. We actually went location scouting, I think, 3 times, and each time we ended the scout with a nice lunch, and we chatted about the coming weeks of the production. So it was really nice to do in-person meetings in that sense. But beyond that, we probably had, I don't know, a dozen video calls or more prior to the shoot, um, for various things, and then lots of emails.
I actually love doing that because I think having food involved in production meeting, good food involved in production meetings just keeps the family feel, I think. And it's especially if it's a very cultural project. I think food is such a rich way of like understanding the culture, and especially this actually takes place in a restaurant. It just even when we're talking about these scenes, we're literally in that scene, so it gives us that feeling of like, oh, this is the atmosphere, or like, oh, maybe that, like, it you're kind of living it, and it just suddenly everything is you're not talking about it in a meeting room, you're in there. So I think it makes a difference.
Right on. Well, I want to ask this question to everybody. We'll start with Sebastian. What's one thing that you learned on this project, either in terms of filmmaking and art, or even about yourself personally, that you're going to take with you to the next project you do?
Oh, there's so many things, but it's hard to put like a number one in my book. I think don't underestimate the power of an amazing treatment. I think having that book and even the shot list, like when Mayumi says it, every single shot of the video was there before we shot anything. And you could see this is the framing on this. We want the shot of the food. It was important to feature that, which was a part of the authenticity of it, and also the community was involved in that too. Showing every piece of it to everyone in advance, the actors and the crew, and everybody up and down the line, really made it clear that, okay, we're going to do this dream sequence, and this is what it's going to look like, and that's what it looked like. um, that is something that is so powerful that sometimes when you don't have that, it feels like you're trying to, imagine somebody else's vision. And this was like the thing that we all took to heart as like the main, the I guess you call it a Bible of like what it's going to look like, and it really was true to that vision. So I don't know. Did I learn that? I mean, it's a privilege to have that, I guess. So I learned that it was really nice to have that.
Right on. Lynn, what's something that you learned, either filmmaking wise or personally, that you want to take with you?
Echo what Sebastian said. I've not seen such a detailed visual shot list and Bible like that before. That really, really helped. I think really the power of food. Honestly, everybody, I love those, like Mayumi said, love those dim sum meetings. I think that really worked well. Creating opportunities for people to bond together, basically, and people bond so well together around food, really helps in the collaboration. And I guess that speaks a lot to, why the chemistry works so well, because we had a chance to bond. And so, yeah, that definitely making sure that the team has that chemistry, and yeah, just makes the project better.
Nice, Mayumi. I have the same question for you, but I, as the director of the video, I'm really thinking in terms of craft and like the filmmaking side of it. Is there a principle or a technique or something that you experimented with that you learned on this that you want to keep doing?
I think this project, it came in the busiest time of my life, actually. So I learned how to manage 8 things at once, and figuring out how to manage my brain while everything is rolling at the same time. And sometimes just not having my phone around me when I'm doing one thing really helped. Just to concentrate on this one creative thing, just pour everything in there. And then, okay, 5 minute window, go and check all the emails, respond to that. Back into creative, just like making sure that I'm not thinking eight projects at the same time. I'm making sure that these hours are dedicated to these projects so that I'm not getting too overwhelmed.
Nice. Amanda, you've been on this project the longest because it came from you and from your mind and your heart. What's something that you learned through this whole process that you want to carry forward?
Mm. Um, I think being an independent musician, it feels quite lonely a lot, and it feels like striving to make people care. So the minute that this became bigger and seeing all these people who care, it actually, like, as much as it was exciting, like, it was kind of scary to see like how big something could get from writing in my bedroom. And I think something that I've learned throughout, and especially with this, is like, and Mayumi really like helped me with this, but our friendship and like knowing where it came from and reflecting on like how we can move people through the things that we make is like that. Yeah, I'm getting a little teary just speaking of it, but it is quite yeah, that's something that I would take on to other things, is like just not forgetting where it comes from. And as grand as things seem, it's like rooted in something that came from the heart, and to not let that escape things when you're like thinking big numbers and so many things running in your brain, but to kind of just like bring it back. And how humbling that is to reflect on that is like, that's why I would keep wanting to make things.
Can I add one more thing? I think as a director doing a music video, I think always keeping the essence of the artist's energy in mind is so important, and it actually grounds you as a director. The more it gets bigger, or the concept changes, like Amanda's energy, and knowing Amanda and her sensibility and her artistic sense really grounded me in many moments. So because it's a project or a film or a music video, you start to think about that as one thing, but don't forget the origin, which is the artist. So thank you, Amanda.
No, thank you. But then it also feels like the moment that something is like, it's not mine and it's ours, is like, that's when you know that we're making something like worth sharing. And whenever I work with you, in any conversation that I have with you, it's like, this isn't my music video. This is our thing. This is our work. So, yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for making this video, but also for being here today. Really appreciate it, and I know.
Thank you, MVP, for letting us make this
Absolutely.
video.
And I mean, clearly making it had an impact on at least 55 people in the process, and I think it's absolutely having that impact out in the world as well. So. It's very exciting, and I can't wait to see what you all do together, and
Thanks, Kashif.
and on your own.
And thanks, MVP.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.